How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to our local Las Vegas real estate channel. I'm here, Randy Hatada, broker at Xpand Realty, and we have a guest coming in, and I will warn you that we pulled him in on the last minute.
The fill-in, that's fine.
Yeah, don't feel bad about it.
I'm not first choice, but I'm here. So.
Well, we appreciate the fill-in. You're coming in next month anyway, so we fast-forwarded your appearance. And our special guest today, based on our original guest catching the bug, which is pretty common right now. There's a lot of people getting sick with the common cold, and we've actually had someone catch, what's that called? Our pandemic?
Coronavirus?
I blocked that out of my...
I had it 4 times, so... Yeah,
Did you?
I've had it and I've had the vaccine 5.
Oh my God, that's a record.
I'm the winner.
They should do some kind of experiment on you, man. You got all the... you got all the germs in
I'm the winner, brother.
And antigens and all that stuff. But yeah, so anyways, I know a lot of people who have gotten sick this week. I heard of one COVID episode, which we haven't heard of for years.
Yeah, new one's going.
Anyway, kind of strange summer.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been fun.
With that, we have Brent. Thank you for filling in Thomas. Brent is part of Xpand Realty as he's an experienced realtor, and actually, let me take that back. He's experienced in sales, and he originally came from Australia, moved to Las Vegas quite some time ago. And over the course of his professional life, he's closed over $1 billion in sales.
Randy. 2.
Over $2 billion in sales. All right, I'm rounding down, you're rounding up. I'm sure it's in the middle. But I just say that because he does have a lot of experience. And, when we talk from a high level, it really adds to the overall picture of what's going on, because at the end of the day, we're doing this to let you guys know answers to the question, what's really going on and what's really going on in Las Vegas. And for Las Vegas, more than ever, we're reactive to a lot of the global events going on. So it all kind of gets pieced together, whereas a lot of our past market has been more microeconomy based. Right now it is world based, and we feel the change personally, and I think that's the discussion. Today we're going to do things a little different, and we're going to talk about the numbers with our market update as the reason you're probably here for. We're going to knock that out. We're going to articulate what that means. We're going to explain how and why this is happening. We're going to go into some of the economic changes and some updates, and we're going to have a conversation with Brent here. Brent also has a podcast going on. It's the Money Golf Guy.
Golf, if you like golf. Yeah, it's Money Golf Guy. Yeah.
Money Golf Guy.
Play with some athletes and basically a lot around town as well. So if you're looking to move to a golf course around here, I'm your guy.
So that YouTube channel is kind of like more of a fun, entertaining.
Yeah, we're about to get into some real estate.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's more, we do some stuff with athletes and a bunch of us locals around here. But yeah, we'll typically have some fun.
We'll have a small conversation about golf itself as well.
Sounds good.
So anyway, starting the update with Las Vegas. Right now we have a heat warning, and we are in the 100 degrees here in Las Vegas. The morning starts at maybe the low 80, and then at a high, we're supposed to hit 103, 104 today.
The furnace is coming. It's not going to cool down for about 3 months now. So.
Yeah. And then tomorrow we have a market high. We have a temperature high. We're supposed to hit like 106 or 108 or something. And then it comes back down to the lower hundreds. So
it sounds like a lot for you people. It's not. Like when you're in the shade, it's beautiful in Vegas.
Well, when you got a cap like that, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Last minute. So.
But truly, yeah, Vegas has dry heat, dry weather, dry climate, basically no humidity. And so when it gets hot, it really doesn't feel as hot as people would think it does based on temperature until we hit 110 plus. And then you feel it. 110, 115 is no joke.
Last year we filmed, and we started filming for the channel last year in June.
The Golf Channel?
Yeah. And it was, we started filming at 112 to 113, the first 4 episodes. It's a little rough there. So I wouldn't suggest that.
Heck no. Is that how you guys do it in Australia?
Yeah, well, there's difference. So if you've got 110 degrees, which is somewhere around about the 40 degree mark, if you're up north, it could be 120% humidity as well. So it's brutal. Like that's like if you've ever been in Indonesia or places like that where it's just, you walk around wet. This is how it is.
Yeah, we don't want none of that. Leave that in Australia.
Yeah, that's
I'm
why
from
Vegas,
Hawaii. I know about humidity, but we don't hit no hundreds. So
no, Vegas is a pleasure. Vegas is an absolute pleasure.
It really is, right? Yeah. Even when it's hot.
Yeah.
Even when it's cold.
Yeah.
Until it gets 110 degrees. Then that's the oven. You don't stay out the oven, stay indoors. So we have about 2 months a year that we approach that level. Usually about just a few weeks though. It really isn't that bad. And when people talk about summer, I mean, this is it. It's not the 115 degree summers. 115 is usually for maybe a week span, I would say, if even.
It's rare.
Yeah.
And the golf gets really cheap then as well, so it's fine.
I can't believe people still play golf.
Oh, well, I do. It's pretty empty.
Yeah. Well, don't invite me. All right, let's get to business. So this month, we're going to go over the main numbers. It is June 2025. And units sold, we'll start with units sold, which is relevant today. So how many closings have we had in May? And we're at 2,087 closings. That's down 87 closings from last month, which isn't that bad. Historically, that might be on the lower side, but this year has been very pivotal, let's just say. So that's the conversation, which is down about 13% from last year. To give you perspective, in January, we started with just below 1,800 closings. And then February, a little more, April, a little more, March, a little more. And we've been pretty consistent in the 2,000s for the last 3 months. So consistency is where we're at. We don't have any major spikes. And when we look at market stats, we look at change and we look at spikes, kind of like the stock market, because it's an indicator of where we may go. And so we try to stay ahead of this. That's why we do all of this, to articulate and figure out what these numbers mean, right? Because I know that you guys can get the numbers and everyone has the numbers. We have this thing called the internet nowadays. ChatGPT and other brands, whatever it is. But, figuring out what they mean and what they mean to you particularly is why we're here. So experience shares. Based on that, our median price point is $480,000. And that's consistent with last month, no change there. And last month was our first month we actually dipped by $5,000. So that was an indicator we've been watching. $5,000 for a median price point of $480,000 equates to only 1% change. So we had a 1% dip last month in our median price point, and people freaked out about it because it's like, oh my God, everything's crashing. The news are reporting like our market's crashing, buyers nowhere in sight. Headlines and we literally moved the needle 1%. I mean, like...
Headlines sell. What else are they going to do? They got nothing else to talk about, so that's how it works.
Just imagine a full tank of gas, and then the needle moves 1%. You don't even flinch, you know what I mean? But if it's real estate, people are freaking out right now because the needle moved in the opposite direction than we're used to. But what we look at is consistent change. And right now, that change has not happened. We've stayed consistent, and again, we're still at 480,000.
Surprisingly so, as we'll get into it, but surprisingly it hasn't. So
it is really surprising, and that's kind of part of the conversation is the why. Why? Because you're going to hear the rest of the numbers, and not all of it makes sense. So new listings, we have 3,591 new listings. That's down 72 new listings, which is good. That means less listings are hitting the market. We're probably recovering graduating from spring. So the listing count will start to slow down as we hit the warmer months. And then our median ask price went down just a little bit, like $2,500, no change. I mean, not even worth talking about the change. But our median list price is $532,000. But what's more relevant is that the difference between those two numbers. And so if our average median asking price is $532,000 and our median close price is $480,000, then where's that $50,000, right? Yeah. That's the conversation. Exactly. And if you're a buyer or seller, you should be asking, what's happening to that $50,000? And there's a lot of ways to skin a cat.
I'm writing notes here so I can ask you some questions, because Randy is our broker as well, and Randy's got his finger on the pulse more than anybody with his, with all your work at LVR, with all your work at LVR and all that type of stuff. Like for us, we still ask a lot of questions. So I'm going to write some questions down as we go when I'm thinking them, so I can ask you, because things.
I appreciate that, and we also took notes on what other people are asking. So we're trying to stay a little bit more focused on addressing what the real questions are, rather than just rattling off some numbers that I'm sure is boring, right? So, it's the why and the what and the where, where we're going is, I think, more important. So we're going to stay focused on that. But we're going to talk about that $50,000 gap after we finish the numbers as we analyze the market. And then units available. So units available, although new listings have gone down, units available has gone up. And we're up to 6,646 new units available. That's a lot. That's up 71% from last year. That's up 433 more listings than last month, which means that we have more inventory. But here's how the numbers work, guys, is that more important than units available is our effective availability, or a month supply, because that shows how much the sales to available ratio there is, and it gives us a true number. And again, the available months mean that if we had no more listings within whatever that month span is, then, well, maybe I put it in the wrong way. It's that amount of time that it takes to take down all those new listings or current listings if there were no more new listings, right? So right now we're at a 3.2 month supply of inventory, which means if there are no more listings from today, it would take 3.2 months to get all those listings sold.
What's typical again? 3, right?
Typical, I don't think there's an exact number, but my share to the world is 3 months, a very healthy market here in Las Vegas.
That's Las Vegas specific as well, because it's different in markets around the world, different in markets around the country.
Exactly right. And that's why I kind of try to really use the words I use and try to think before I talk, because it's true. It's specific to Vegas, although that's usually a rule of thumb in general. But for Vegas, 3 month supply is a very strong market, normally favoring both sides. And just so you guys know, 3.2 month supply is up 97% from last year, meaning that last year we were shy of inventory.
It was hot last year, though.
And that is why prices just went crazy, supply and demand. But those are the numbers we're going to talk about as well, is the month supply. And it has a lot to do with our current market and strength of the market and where we're headed. So that's going to be the main topic of conversation. Now, Vegas is very special in the fact that if we're not talking segments, then it's very skewed numbers. And the reason is that we have condos, we have townhomes, and then we have your average price point single families. Then we have luxury properties from $1 million up. And all these segments are doing different things. And that's part of the conversation as well.
The surprising one for me is luxury. Because I would have thought that would have been hurting more than most typically does, right? And it doesn't seem like that's the case, so that'll be fun to talk about.
Luxury market is very strong, guys. So that's why, like, when you read, the paper and all that, if it's still on paper, it gives you an average, right? And it tells you this is what the market is doing in general, but that may not be the reality in your market segment, which is why it's important for us to break that down as well. But we're going to talk about condos and townhomes now. Very different than single families, which is why we got to, again, separate it. And by generalities, it's a big segment of our market. So it's a lot more affordable, obviously, than single family. So it's in high demand, and we're going to share a little bit about that.
I think for people who don't know Las Vegas is more of a just go and build a lot, instead of like really well planned out over the time, right? Like you have a established market like Germany or something like that, everything is planned. Everything is slow, quality builds, but it's very, very slow. Vegas is like, let's just get it up and let's fill it up, like just different. And so it leads to a lot more variance in the market.
Anybody watch the movie Field of Dreams?
I love that movie.
If you build it, they will come.
That's exactly what Vegas does. And that leads to variance. So that leads to a lot of volatility in markets. And I think that's why Vegas is very much sensitive to a lot of things. It's one of the reasons anyway.
Well, I'll share with you a little bit of the condo history once we go over these numbers. But the actual need was there for condos, and then they built it in this case. But we'll get into that.
Cool.
So units sold 559. That's only up 15 new closings from last month. And that's actually down 19% year over year. So we're down from last year, but it's not as devastating as people might think. And there's reasons behind the change that we're talking about, right? Which is not Las Vegas caused again, right? This is a global geopolitical thing that we're going to really address. The median price is 307,000. There's not much change there. That's only up about 4,000 from last month and up about 4% year over year. So that's been staying consistent.
But that's the thing, is it's a weird thing.
How does it go up, right? And that's a trick question, because when I get into the other numbers, it does not make sense based on numbers. Yeah. New listings is up 80 new listings to 1,100 new listings, making our median ask price 299,000. And the difference between the single family market and the condo market is that the ask price is less than the median sold price by $7,000.
Again, weird.
Right? 299 asking, 307 closing. Whatever.
That's weird.
Units available. We have 2,500 units available. That's up 120 units available. But here's the big number again. It always is effective availability or month supply. And month supply is at a high of 4.5 months supply. So it's all ratios, right? That's important. That's up 134% from last year. So more than double and a third from last year as far as effective availability. Now, how can you have very, very high supply, right? And then the numbers are still going up, and then the ask is less than the sold price, right? Very, very confusing.
It's weird.
It is weird. So let's go back into a little bit of history of condos. So in 2006, prior to our housing crash, caused by loans, guys, not the economy, caused by bad loans, our market was at a market high. That was our last pinnacle of Vegas history. And at that period of time, we had a lack of what we would consider affordable housing. And understanding this, condos were very minimal. Like, there just weren't any, and people did not build a lot of condominium developments. However, we had a lot of apartment buildings. And so that affordable end of housing, whether it was for sale or rental, in this case rental, were dominated by a couple of developers who owned all the apartments. And there's not that many investors that own apartments here in Las Vegas. There's a few major ones that kind of monopolized that industry at that time. And so what happened is that investors came in, they saw the opportunity that we needed affordable housing. They came in, bought these apartments, and converted them to condominium. And your average two-bedroom condo in your average area, average demanded area, were selling brand new, although they weren't brand new. They were brand new refurbished from apartment at about $200,000 to $225,000. Two-bedroom, about 1,000 square feet, two-bathroom, and a carport. And that is why most of our condominiums look almost exactly the same, is because they bought the same apartment product and chopped them up into condominium. So the difference between apartment and condo is that apartments are owned by one investor. They own the whole complex. It's called commercial real estate, or qualifies as commercial real estate. And then when they chopped it up into condominiums, now it became residential real estate and privately owned per unit.
So for you guys out there, if it's over 4, basically if it's over 4, it's commercial, or classified as commercial here, in Vegas anyway.
Right. So codes get a little tricky about that when it comes to fourplexes and business licenses and all that. But as far as residential coding or residential requirements, it's 4 and down. So you're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so you guys got a feel of those numbers. It is a very awkward month. A lot of brokers are calling it a pivot month. Last month was more like trying to understand what's happening. Now we have the numbers to support at least the consistency or not. And in this case, not much change from last month. Yes, we saw the 1% dip, but since then, not that much change. And as we talked about before, a lot of it has to do with this geopolitical stuff going on. And to just recap some of the same shares that we've had, we have a president, and our president, Trump, elected to create some tariffs a few months ago, and it rattled our whole financial world globally. Based on that uncertainty and fear, our stock market crashed, right? Our financial market, and people freaked out. And the news put out articles saying, beware, everything's crashing, the sky is falling.
Which makes it go down again.
Which makes it increased or exaggerated even worse. And so with that, our financial market crashed. Our housing market didn't crash. It came to a halt though, or a slowdown. And during that slowdown, inventory built up. And this is nationwide, guys, but as far as Vegas in particular, we didn't get hit that hard, you know, and there's a lot of reasons for that, right?
It's surprising.
It's
in
always
Vegas.
surprising.
We normally cop it more than anybody, right?
Vegas is just always surprising. I mean, you know, talk about keeping that pulse.
But here's the thing, like if we want to dive into that, the great thing about that for Las Vegas is typically in the past, we would have been hit hard. But that shows the diversity in our economy now as opposed to 20 years ago. Like you watch during the GFC in 2009, whatever it was, it's one of those things where we got hit hard. And I was out here a lot even then. I got a good history with Vegas. Now it's like, no, we're not just tourism. We're not just these things. We have people with depth, with businesses all over the country. We have tech people who are here now. Like we have all that stuff and all those different industries where it doesn't necessarily mean that people go, oh, I've got to move and I've got to sell because my job's not here a lot of the time, you know? So it adds diversity and that's just a good sign for Vegas in general.
That's such a great point. I mean, like we could do a podcast on just that statement right there because it's so true. Like 2006 happened. We hit a high in real estate. 2009, 2010, we fell. And that, again, was due to the bad loans and out there. And
Crazy
anyone with a heartbeat could get a loan. And
Ninja loans. I still remember
0% down, no income, no asset, Nina loans.
I remember sitting in our offices in Australia when we were there laughing at the lending policies because it's very strict in Australia because 70% of the banks, like their money is literally lent out in real estate and residential, but we were laughing at it. It was crazy.
So there was a lot of subprime loans or high risk loans that happened because people were arrogant at that time. And I'll give you an analogy. When you go and buy steak, we know what prime is, we know what choice is, and we know what, if it's not even labeled, like we know what that is. So prime loans are the best loans. These were subprime, right? So think about your steak. What does subprime mean?
Horse meat.
It means not that good, right? And so these are the loans that were being issued out. You had a heartbeat, you could probably qualify. You had a good credit score, you could probably qualify with no money down. And the bubble burst. And that's true. A bubble was created and it burst. Now, during that time, I 100% feel that a lot of people looked at the Vegas appreciation and the whole Vegas scene as a trend, kind of like a clothing line or something that's popular in the store. Trend comes and goes, and I think a lot of people bailed when those markets crashed, except for investors who capitalized on that, and that's another story. But a lot of the locals bailed, and at that time 50% of Las Vegas were owned by California. They were the first people to let go because they didn't live there. It was an investment. So if they were, if their credit wasn't as important as paying that debt or whatever it was, they were the first people to bail, with owner occupants being the last, right? And so a lot of people did not have the long-term confidence that Vegas was a real thing. Vegas was a real city. Vegas was sustainable, right? It was a trend at that time. That's my opinion. And today, I feel like Vegas has finally got the respect that everyone believes that Vegas is now a thing.
Well, it's because it's been built with depth now. Like you look at what we have. We have our own culture for sure. It was somewhat of something before, but now it's really metropolitan. Like it's restaurants, it's sporting clubs, it's things that people want to be around all the time. It's things that not just gambling where it brings, let's be honest, it brings a little despair along with what it brings in the joy. Now it is literally, I'm not going to a casino to gamble. I'm going there because even the shows aren't as big a thing. It really is the food, the shows, yes, the entertainment that's there and the sporting events are great. So it's becoming a place where you want to live and stay, not just come and leave.
Right. It's not just your tourist destination anymore, and it has a sustainable economy behind it. We have some issues that need to be addressed, such as the water crisis and all that, but all of that controls demand. And if demand is controlled, supply, and if supply is controlled, meaning that if there's not enough water, then we got to stop building, and people continue to move here, prices will continue to go up. But with that being said, I think that Vegas is a real thing, now, and it's going to be around for a long time based on different sustainable markets, not just depending on the tourists.
Look where the smart money is, right? We can go where the smart money is.
The big money.
23%.
Is smart money the big money?
Yeah. I mean, you look at institutional investments, right? It accounts for 23% of what's out here now in investments. So you look at, they're not coming here for no reason. They're not putting as much money as the city will actually let them put. They're putting in as much as they're allowed without killing the rental market, without doing those types of things, because it does put pressure on those things as well. I'm sure you talk about that as well, but the smart money is here.
So what Brent is talking about is, I'll break that down a little further. Smart money that he's talking about, and these large corporations or institutional monies include hedge funds, REITs, Wall Street money, private funds, private equity. But the point is, there's accumulated big monies out there that are taking down a lot of real estate, and they own a ton of real estate here in Vegas. There's articles going out actually by our local press that, I forgot what the number was, but they were talking about how much one of the New York funds owns of Las Vegas, and it was an astronomical number.
Not surprised.
Enough to control the market a little bit, right? If they sell, they buy. If they increase rent, it changes the market because they have so much inventory. But they're here because they believed in the sustainability and the longevity of Vegas. And what has happened is that as these hedge funds hit Vegas and bought properties for rental purposes and appreciation purposes, thus from a business perspective, cash flow and appreciation, they came in because this was the best product for them that's viable with the least amount of volatility, risk. So they spent your money, right, public monies or private monies, they put it into Vegas, into what we call residential real estate portfolios, and they're making major cash flow, and they're getting appreciation by doing so.
Companies like BlackRock, who is the biggest in the world,
BlackRock, Blackstone,
they're into more of investment portfolios, different types than any other company around the world, but they're big here. I just think, if you're ever thinking about investing with all the sporting clubs and all that type of stuff, like, number one, you should 100% look at Vegas. There's just no doubt in my mind. Me, myself, like friends, everybody, I could shout, I'm shouting out from the rooftops, but it's wild how much money is getting put in here, and for good reason. Yeah.
And monies are coming here, not just in residential real estate, but that's what we're talking about right today. And so to go back and clarify that 23% number, it's a little different than what was shared from you. Sorry to call you out. But what that 23% number represents the amount of sales that happened since 2000. So out of all the sales from 2000 to 2025, 23% of those sales were hedge fund monies. Not 23% of our inventory, which would be a huge number.
Yeah, it's good clarification.
But 23% of our sales were hedge fund, big monies coming in and just taking down a big chunk of Las Vegas. That's almost 1/4 of all, 1 out of every 4 sales was hedge fund money.
Which does...
Not hedge fund, institutional money.
Yeah, and it does change the market conditions. Like, it's not a natural thing to occur. So it creates a different environment than what you would if you were just going to buy in Missouri or something like that. Like, it's going to add upward pressure because they have the ability to hold for longer periods of time. They have the ability to pay a little bit extra than maybe what someone else would, because they have a long-term plan, a very long-term plan.
We're number one in the US with institutional monies. And so if all these smart players or funds are investing in Vegas, there's a reason why. I guess is the point.
What do you think you should be doing? What do you think?
There's a reason why the smart money's in Vegas.
And you can hear realtors say, "Oh, you should be here," but you don't have to listen to us. You can just listen to them. And if you don't, then that's on you.
I mean, the truth is, we're not here to sell Vegas. I mean, we love listings and we sell it too.
Vegas is great.
Vegas sells itself. It really is just explaining what's going on and why Vegas, right? And right now, that's a major reason on why. Follow the money.
I think you've got the intro clip right there for the podcast, for the video, by the way. So yeah.
So, but yeah, we could do a whole podcast on that. And just to wrap that statement up, they also own casinos and businesses throughout the valley, and it doesn't end at residential real estate. So just to clarify that. But the point is that the confidence is here. The smart monies are betting here, not just on the cash flow, but on the appreciation. So huge. And that's the reason why. Now, a lot of people look at these funds as a negative thing. I've never seen someone go, that's great news. You know, everyone is like, boo-hoo, you know, like, but on the flip side, here's how it helps some people in Vegas.
Current owners.
It helps renters, you know, like it helps renters too. Like, because the more rentals out there, the more balanced they are in inventory, right? Supply and demand again.
Yep.
The more options renters have, which kind of balances out rent amounts.
And it's a cultural thing as well, right? So a lot of people, you want to own a house. If you were in Europe, I think in Germany, it's something like, and I go back to Germany just because it's a very stable market. And so it's something that to really try and, I guess, emulate in some ways. I think 50 to 60% of people rent, and it's not seen as a bad thing. It's just seen as that's just the way it is.
Yeah, so we've been at 50% for quite a while. I'm not sure exactly what we're at today, but it's because we have a lot of investors and we have a lot of need for renting. And Vegas is a transient town. It is not for everyone. So don't think that Vegas is the answer for everyone, because it's not. It takes a particular person to live here and enjoy the opportunities that Vegas has to offer without losing your wallet along the way, right? Because there's so much ways to lose your wallet.
If you got your fingers, stay where you are. Yeah.
But, you know, if you're a responsible person and, you know, you can withstand gaming and some of the other crotches that Vegas has to offer, really, I mean, sky's the limit. It's a fun place to live with a lot of opportunity, a lot of entertainment. And the irony is that even if you're a family and have children, there's so much things for them to do as well.
Two boys. We live out in Inspirata. We couldn't be happier with where we live. It's the dream, man. It's parks, pools everywhere, like kids everywhere coming and going. Like a lot of people still have a misconception about Vegas as well. Like there's just in the Henderson side, you know, you've got Cadence and Inspirata all over the city. There's tons of places to go, but man, it's so family friendly. Like even the schools, like people say bad schools. Our school is the #1 chartered school in the state, and it's amazing and it's free. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like you have to have a lot of money to live here or all that. I'm going to ramble, but for me, I was super surprised about being able to raise a family here, and I'm happy I made the choice. So
yeah, that's a real life experience share right there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think like this is an adult community, you know, and it's not that. I mean, you got to be pretty strategic though on where, you know, where it makes sense for your children and all that, and what school makes sense and all the important things for children. But when you make those right decisions, you can build a nice little home base.
I think Cadence and Inspirata
for families.
I think they're in like the top 20, top 30 master plan communities in the country. And that's in Vegas right here. And Henderson is the safest city in the country? Is it something like that? It's top 5.
Depends who you ask, but I've seen the rating on multiple sites that, yes, that's accurate. Henderson is the #1 in the country.
Yeah, so.
And yeah, Anthem Coventry, I think, was named like one of the top communities in the U.S., top 10.
Okay.
And they're not even a gated community. Go figure. Like, that's how...
Neither are we. It's proud of
how they calculate that, I have no idea. But it's out there, you know, people are putting it out there, so...
So I think, like, as we do, see, if I get involved, I tend to take him off track and we ramble on. But for me, like when we're going back to the statistics, there's going to be impacts of summer in Vegas. Because impacts of summer in Vegas, not a lot of people want to go out and look at houses. Like there's some for sure, but you've been here for longer than I have. You know the markets better than I. Like you got the numbers and then you've got seasonal adjustments. So how do you think summer's going to impact Vegas given everything we know?
Well, here's the thing is that summer, as the heat goes up, sales usually go down because it's not fun looking at houses in 105 plus weather, right?
Realtors out here wear shorts, but.
And then once you go back to school, it kind of slows down as well. People want to move before the school year starts and do all their logistics while they have the time to do so. But here's the thing, which is different than year over year. Because of the freeze due to all that tariff stuff and the buyers not having that confidence, they're still here. They just haven't pulled the trigger, which means there's inventory. And so to me, what I'm thinking in my head as a broker is, what's the message? Where's the normal spring closing inventory going to go? Is it going to roll over, or we're just going to continue as a regular market, you know? I'm wondering if there's a snowball effect of all these buyers that have accumulated that eventually will start pulling the trigger. And now we have a huge high volume summer or not, where we go to a normal summer and that inventory just goes missing, or that sales closing just goes missing. And, we slowly, I guess, acclimate to the change. But I'm looking very closely for that snowball effect to happen, because again, it's not what the papers say where the buyers are not here. They're here. They just didn't have the confidence for 3-4 months to pull the trigger and buy a home.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that a lot of these people are getting their information from the news, and it's not a bad thing that they're not buying a home right now, but it's important that they understand why they're not buying and the consequences if they do or don't, right? And there's no right answer until history shows its cards to you. But I don't think everyone's making an educated decision is, I guess, the point I'm trying to make, right? Everyone is kind of going with emotion and based on the holy moly, what's going on? I'm not confident, versus what's the alternative to not buying?
And what you would think, so the dichotomy between the market right now is typically if inventory is rising, prices should be falling, but we're not seeing that yet. So I don't know if people are waiting to see if that's going to take effect, if they're going to see a drop in price and they kind of take advantage then, because that's not the case right now, which is weird. It feels odd. I haven't seen that in too many markets around the world.
Yeah, and so to clarify what I'm trying to say is, like, my message is not you should be buying. That is not my message. My message is you should stay educated, have a professional consulting you along the way, and not one that says you should be buying all the time, right? Because I have a commission at the end of that tunnel. It should be someone just saying, based on what I've heard you say, based on your goals, here's what the market is doing, and here's what I think would be the right play for you, and here's why. And the most important summary to all of this is the why. Why does it make sense for you to buy or not? And if you don't, what's the alternative? And I think a lot of people forget that if you relocate to Las Vegas with the intention to buy and you haven't, then what's the alternative? And it's usually renting, and it's usually renting for a year plus, right? And what's the market gonna be like in a year plus? No one knows. My opinion, it's going to be more expensive in a year plus, And right now, yes, we're going through volatility. And yes, market's going up and down a little bit by 1%. Ain't moving the needle much.
That's just nothing. Yeah.
But what it does with all this inventory is there's a lot of wiggle room for negotiations. Not only with resale, but with new builds as well. So another message for you guys is if you guys are dealing with new builds, I would highly suggest you guys using a realtor. If it's not us, use someone that you trust that will do the right thing, because...
Well, there's good examples. There's examples all over the place. Like we went in, we had a client that come to us, like our client together. We ended up getting something like $20,000 worth of upgrades for free on it, just by asking. Like they didn't say, my client had gone there directly, which don't do that, which I told him not to do that. But then as soon as I got involved, then things changed a lot. That's just the way it is. Like we're your advocates. The seller the new home community seller is not going to go out there and just offer you things if they don't have to. Their job is to make profit as well.
Yeah, their job is to maximize their profitability. Yeah. And what we're trying to say is, like, there's multiple strategies that can be used behind the scenes to potentially get a better deal.
Yeah.
And a lot of the experienced realtors that know what they're doing, know how to maneuver and ask the right questions, which gives you the best probability to get the best deal, right? Yeah. And a lot of times you walk into and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, there's whoever it is, a buyer walking into the sales office for a brand new home. They like a house, they see the price, and they're like, can I get a better price? And the answer is no. No, you can't. Yeah. Because if I do it for you, then I got to do it for everyone. That's really what it comes down to. And it also, appraisal reasons. If I do it for you, now that adjusts the appraisal for everyone else, affecting our entire community. So that's not the right ask, yeah. Right? There's different ways to ask and get what you want.
It's very specific. I think you thinking, I'm just going to get 50 grand off. It's not how it works. It's very specific to whatever they've built If they went ahead and built something with upgrades, well, that's and then you take the price off of that specific thing. It doesn't hurt the overall values or the overall sales price of everything else. It's very specific.
Well, that's one strategy. There's so many strategies that honestly, we don't have the time to share them on this particular.
We could do another one because I think that would be pretty interesting, right? Or maybe we don't. Maybe we don't give all the secret sauce. No. That's what we're here. We're here to give education, right? So, yeah.
I'm all for sharing. So just so you know, like.
That's all you do with me, of course.
I'm not worried about that kind of thing. It's more like just because you know how to do something doesn't mean you should be doing something. Like, I know enough to take apart a motor, but putting it back together is a whole nother story. So I shouldn't be doing that, and I guess the point is we're happy to share with you a lot of techniques, a lot of strategies, but you should still use a realtor. And even if it's not us, you should use one. And there's a million reasons on why. That's the message. So moving on, I just want to cover a couple things before we adjourn our podcast that has run long because of our money golf. Money golf guy.
I like to talk.
No, I'm just messing with you. Here's some headlines that I wanted to share. Innovation brings jobs to Southern Nevada. There's a what's the acronym? GOED, which is basically a government tax abatement to bring specific industries to Vegas. It's an incentive. And they're bringing advanced manufacturing, distribution, and sustainable logistics. So all of those type of companies are headed here. And there's a whole article about it with the actual companies that are coming, but it's bringing a lot of these businesses here to Vegas, right? Including tech companies, which, at the end of the day, it means opportunity, and it's good for our economy.
It's great for our economy because it means people don't just have to get up and sell their houses fast, which is typically what's happened in the past, which adds volatility. There's a lot less volatility because of the types of industry and jobs that are here.
Here's another one. They're talking about bringing business court to Las Vegas so that you have more options than Delaware. So if you have a business court here, the thought is you're gonna bring in a lot of professional companies based on that. In Delaware, they have like specialized business courts for legal infrastructures and all that. And Delaware is a state to go to get those services.
Specifically for that, to make things move faster, to get industry moving.
They also have a lot of like things named after them, like the Delaware Trust and on and on and on. They're known for their business. The point is that if Vegas also has a court system sponsoring that or backing business up, it's gonna just go hand in hand with all the new business and lure more business to town.
And there's almost no reason to do any business in Delaware after that because our protections, as far as corporate protections and things like that for businesses, are super strong in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and Delaware has a strong protection, but like you said,
you incorporate either in Vegas and Delaware for businesses most of the time now. And so again, if we do that, then it's taken away. I mean, who wants to go to Delaware? Sorry, Delaware.
I know nothing about Delaware, but I know a lot about Vegas.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. What does Delaware have to offer? Where is Delaware?
Great incorporation benefits. They got.
Delaware's in the Midwest. Where?
That doesn't matter. We're Vegas. Don't worry about this.
I'm curious though. I'd like to know. Anyways, there's huge industrial park expansion. Phase 2 of Mountain West Industries Park. Another 324,000 square foot of basically logistics and manufacturing space, going hand in hand with what we just talked about. Logistics and manufacturing. Go figure. AI is coming. That goes along with all of the tech industries. And
is that like data centers and stuff like that you're talking about?
Well, in this case, I'm talking about an AI powered hotel that's coming to the Strip.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How's that?
Oh, that's wild.
I mean,
no people.
Kind of creepy. Kind of creepy.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I need a personal touch.
It doesn't matter how you feel; it's happening. Yeah. So let's go figure it out and let's go try it out. You can be the jerk that walks in and tests everything.
Break everything. It's good.
Because everyone's gonna be the nice guy. You be the jerk. Figure out how AI handles you.
Fair. I can do that.
They put it on your money golf thing. Population boom. We all know about that.
What are we right now? What are we at in Vegas?
We're still in the top 10. We're not number 1 in the city, but
what's our actual population?
I think we're number 1 in growth for the city, but our population's at like 2.45 mil.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know if you read this, or heard this, that they're redoing the 215.
Again.
I've been here 25 years, and that thing has been worked on since I arrived here.
That's rough, dude.
Like, I seen them build it.
Yeah.
The side roads was the freeway when I was here. and now it's the off-ramp stuff. But we've seen them work on that for 25 years.
In all fairness, how quickly they get things done, and ain't Hawaii. I'll put it that way. What did I say? In the town of Hilo, where Randy's from, my wife and Randy know each other for quite some time. I think it took them longer to build a bridge, which is maybe like 30 feet, than it did to build the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So that's an actual fact. You can look that up as well. But like in Vegas, they get things done.
Is that a jab
fast.
or is that a fact?
It's both. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about Vegas is they get things done really fast, and I like driving around Vegas. I come from some pretty big cities in Australia, which might take me an hour to get into work every day and an hour to get home. And no matter where I want to get, it's still only 25 minutes. It took me 25 minutes, and I'm on the other side of town to get here. I love being in Vegas. Traffic is not an issue. If anyone tells you they're late because of traffic in Vegas, can I swear on this channel?
No.
Full of crap. They're full of crap.
Hey, listen up. I disagree with what he just said. I get late because of traffic all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I've just ruined
this is true.
I've just ruined his vibe. Yeah.
I even take pictures of the traffic to prove it. Hey, by the way, I will be a few minutes late. Here's the picture to prove it.
I get the same picture every week.
No, but seriously, hey, look, listen. It's because we're spoiled. And that's what he's probably trying to say. It's not for, our traffic is minimal, but we're spoiled. And so in the past, we're used to minimal to no traffic. And so an additional 10 to 15 minutes of traffic, we don't account for that because we haven't transitioned to, we got to prepare. Everything was easy back then, right?
It could be Hawaii time as well.
It's like going to the desert with an umbrella. Like, you don't do it. And so for us, we don't prepare for traffic until the last couple years, and now we have to unfortunately prepare and expect
a few pieces
10 to 15 minutes of traffic that we never did before.
Yeah.
So it rains in the desert nowadays, you guys, and this is the truth. So bring an umbrella. But yeah, the difference is probably 10, 15 minutes of traffic, to be honest. There is a difference. And,
Randy's been here for 20 years. I've only been here for like
25 years.
25.
All right. Fast forward. Off on a tangent, bring it in. Apex, they're still building that. They got more approvals to build out more industrial and economic development. That's out almost by the speedway. So that's more movement out there.
Tons of room out there.
A lot of land out there, but that's kind of on the outskirts. But a lot more opportunity is the end of the statement there. And have you guys heard of In-N-Out? And I'm talking burgers.
I don't know. I think it's overrated. I've got clients that
Love
kill me
In-N-Out.
from California. That's their church.
Well,
and one of them's a pastor, so I can say.
Well, if that's their church, the hub is coming to Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the flagship location is going to open in Las Vegas, 400,000 square foot.
What?
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess people
Yeah.
What?
So,
That's wild.
welcome In-N-Out. Bring your flagship.
Are they putting, is it a hotel? They're putting like rooms in there as well or something?
I don't know. I'm not the expert. I'm just reading the
That's
news,
wild.
it is
That's
wild.
crazy.
But they're doing really well out here. And, you can't go to an In-N-Out without standing in line or waiting in line. They're just, regardless how you feel, Brent, people love it.
They do.
Yeah. And they're a little bit more healthy than the competition, I think.
Healthy. It sounds like an American statement. I'm sorry.
When you're comparing burger for burger, it doesn't matter where you're from.
Animal style.
It's a factual statement.
Oh my God.
They do it all fresh. They don't freeze.
Yeah, super healthy. It's
Yeah,
good. Let's
yeah.
stick
They
with
could be serving kangaroo, but it's fresh.
Kangaroo.
I'm just kidding.
Kangaroo tastes terrible, by the way.
Maybe we should cut this.
No, it's
maybe
good.
not. We're
It's
just
good.
having fun. That's all we do. Don't take everything in life so seriously like I do.
Oh, man.
All right,
Oh,
you
that's
guys.
good, man.
So that's kind of like time to wrap up. I think we're hitting our time limit here. We don't want to bore you guys for the rest of the day. So if you have further questions or requests for next month, comment below or even in between, because we could throw out some things like that address those questions, or contact us directly. Like, we're happy to field those calls, emails, whatever it is. We're here to serve, and we have 25 agents ready to go and serve as well. So feel free to ask the questions. Again, just like our podcast, it is not you need to buy, you need to sell. It's here's what's going on, you make the decision, and that's what you're gonna get across the board here. So feel free to ask the questions. A lot of people are shy to ask because I think they're shy to ask that because they're gonna get a sales pitch after that. There's gonna be opinions, and obviously I do and Brent does as well believe in Las Vegas. So the answer is
I moved to a whole other country because I believe in Vegas, because I like it that much.
specifically to Las Vegas.
Yeah, specifically for this. I mean, but I've been coming here since I was 20, man. Like and I'm old now. I love Vegas, and I love it for even more reasons now. Like having a family here is different than the 21-year-old that was coming, you know.
So, but in conclusion, he believes in Vegas. I believe in Vegas. So long term, you know, like, of course, we're going to tell you we believe in Vegas. And as I stated before, Vegas is not for everyone. But if it's for you, we'd love to have that conversation. We'd like to have the conversation about investing, even if you don't live here. You know, there's a lot of goods and bads about it. Next time, I think what we should talk about is the negatives of Las Vegas, because there are negatives, guys. Like, you know, we're talking about the positive things, because most of the things that we've talked about have positive answers, or there's a positive and negative to everything that we talk about, right? And so actually we did talk about some negatives, and that's the heat. But there's more than that, you know, guys. We'll make a podcast.
Why don't we do a positive, negative? We'll do a pros and cons. Pros and cons of Vegas. Because there's good to every bad. Well, there's bad to every good. Almost.
Not just the cons?
That would be a sucky episode. Be depressing, I think.
Let me think this through. Well, we will think it through. Regardless, the next podcast about that will have negatives in it, whether we bring positive to join it or not.
Yeah.
It's TBD.
How about you go negative, I'll go positive? I think that'd be great.
How about I go positive, you go negative?
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to be the sucky guy. All right, well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Please like below, comment below, so we know what to do on the next episode or episodes. And more importantly, subscribe to us. That gives us the confidence to continue doing this and add value to the world. Take care, you guys.
Cool. Thanks for having me, man.
Bye-bye.